When I first accepted this relationship with God, I thought it was going to be soon sale. I really thought it was going to be soon sale. I thought it would be daisies and roses and everything's peaceful and everything's good. Everything's fine. God, I stopped smoking. I stopped drinking. I didn't realize how addiction comes back for you, huh? I didn't realize that. And I did not think, was not ready for trials in ministry. But now, looking back at it, I praise God for what I went through in Abbotsford. God allowed my brokenness to be exposed in Abbotsford. And man, it was hard. Man, it was scary. It was difficult because God made sure that my brokenness would be exposed to the leaders there. He made sure that it would be exposed. Why? Because he says, hey, don't think you got it all figured out. Understand that your dependence, it needs to be in me. So here I am in ministry, leaving Ontario, knowing no one here in BC, and all of a sudden I'm a pastor of a church. I don't know what that means. I don't know about all these responsibilities, and I felt extremely alone. Extremely, extremely alone. So here I am, trying to go back to a familiar hell, then experience an unfamiliar heaven. So one day, I see that one of my favorite rappers are coming to BC. And I said, oh man, this reminds me of my childhood. This is familiar. Familiar. This is familiar. I'm so alone here. I have no friends here. This is familiar. Let me go to this concert. Let me experience this music, reminisce on the youthfulness and forget these responsibilities for a second. So I was willing to go back to a familiar hell. And I gotta tell you the truth, I went to that concert. And when I went there, although I enjoyed the songs, I was looking around me and I was like, man, it's so sad how the women are up there and how they're dressed and how they're dancing. It's so sad that you don't even see their face. All you see is their back. That's all you see is their back. In music videos, concerts, that's all you see is their back. So I'm kind of observing this and watching this, and honestly, for God to not struck me down dead that day, just for breaking his Sabbath, because this was on Sabbath. I'm shocked that he didn't do that. So here I am thinking, okay, I didn't do anything wrong technically, God, so I went and go about my day and try to forget it and go about ministry, and months later, God says, no. You're not about to tuck this under the shadow, under curtain, as if this never happened. So here I am, it's time for communion. And I'm saying, God, preparing for communion, preparing my heart, saying, God, do I need to forgive anyone? Do I need to ask forgiveness of anyone? It's a very big sin to take communion when you're holding something against someone. It's a very scary thing. But when you haven't asked for forgiveness. So I said, okay, God, I'm preparing for communion. Let me know, is there anything I need to forgive anyone or anything? And he says, you need to ask forgiveness from me. I said, what did I do? Months later. And he says, you broke my Sabbath, Danielle. And you have ignored that. You act like it never happened. You sinned against me. So here I am, realizing, man, once again, because of loneliness, that was my trial. The enemy led me to believe again that this wasn't protection, this was restriction. Ministry was restrictive. Step out, Danielle. Enjoy, you're young. Just go to this concert, you're not doing anything wrong. So once again, I stepped out of the vault. I said, I'm just going to go to this concert. So God's bringing this up and saying you need to ask forgiveness from me. So I'm asking God forgiveness. Asking God forgiveness. And he says, no, you need to truly learn from this lesson. So it's brought to the church, brought to the leadership team, brought to the conference, almost getting fired, brought through all of these different channels. So I had to be put on suspension for a couple of months. And here I am thinking, well, if I get fired, I'll just go back to the beauty industry. And this will be the end of that, and But during that time, I was going through so much mental and emotional turmoil. So much mental and emotional turmoil. And God is saying, you see how much you're seeking me now? How much you're holding on to me now to get through this? This is what you need to do every single day. You see that loneliness that you try to suppress and ignore and okay, you're fine and just keep smiling? Look what that did. Look where it led you to. You were willing to step out of the vault. You stepped out of the vault so much so that you sinned against me. This is how much you need to be dependent on me. So that trial was so difficult. So difficult. It was hard to overcome. It was hard to go through as that was exposed. And it was difficult, so difficult to look in the mirror during that time. It was difficult to realize, man, maybe I shouldn't be in ministry. Maybe I'm not ready for this, God. Maybe that's what this means. It was a